Hello, my name is Jenny.
And my name is Yuri.
And this is episode 3 of the Conscious Cuppa podcast season 4, where we're exploring the divine feminine. And if you've never heard of the term divine feminine, you're not alone.
Curious about what she has to do with creating your reality, realising your dreams, and being and having what you do want? Then stay tuned to find out more.
Yuri, what if I really desire something that's out of reach?
She'll give you a hand up, Jenny.
And what if I want something I've been told is impossible?
She's got it in her infinite storehouse.
Yeah, but what if I've got myself seriously stuck?
She'll get you moving again.
And if my world is falling apart?
She can pull it back together.
Who is she? Really?
Here's a taste of what our fabulous guests had to say about what the divine feminine means to them.
Ancestral knowledges, like a legacy of sharing what feels good and what doesn't. That is kind of hidden about our bodies and how we nurture ourselves.
It's also about the voice.
I think about sustenance, think about growth, I think about health.
Her love for us all, for all of us.
Nurture.
It represents the energy that comes from the universe.
I guess the alchemical potentials when it meets other energies or whatever.
Somebody put everybody else's in front of herself and giving in out of her expenditure.
We made this podcast to big up this overlooked, underappreciated, infinitely intelligent, divine mind who resides within us all.
So, grab a brew.
Take a pew.
And let's give the divine feminine her due.
So Jenny, what have we got to sip and slurp this episode? Something special from my favourite place, Brighton.
Brighton. We took a trip quite a while ago now, and we visited within the indoor market, which is a bit closer. Is it close to the station? No, it's close, maybe a bit close to the palace.
Yes.
Called MD Teas. They had lots of teas, but there was these individual selections, and we picked 5, and we've got 2 in the cup, obviously, but let me tell you the other 2. Golden Turmeric Revival, which we had turmeric last episode, so we weren't going to pick that one today. There's also Some Like It Hot and Cold. There is Gunpowder Green Tea, but I've got in my cup, this one is called Parisian Floral Calm, and I picked Parisian because my sister's in Paris right now. This has chamomile, lemon balm, lemon, rose petals, jasmine and lavender, and it looks beautiful.
And mine is called Topsy Tea, and the ingredients are South African vanilla rooibos, bergamot and corn flour. And I picked this because my son recently visited South Africa, as you have, Jenny.
Yeah, bro.
And the beautiful thing is, mine was a loose leaf tea, so it also includes my daughter. She gifted me these little pouches that you can put loose leaf tea in. So thank you, Isis, for your culinary expertise.
And you said that you use these for another purpose too.
Yes, I make pho. I believe it's Vietnamese soup. And I put my spices in these little pouches and take them to work, pour some hot water over them, and those instant kind of noodles that you can have.
That's such a good idea. That's such a good idea.
Yeah.
So look, we've also got free from chocolate chip cookies to go with our tea. But let's taste our tea. I think it's been brewing now for 5 minutes.
Oh, I tell you, this rooibos tea, or rooibos, or however you say
Red Bush.
It smells absolutely amazing.
Oh, that's good. That's made with flowers.
This has got a rich, deep flavour, but I am, this episode, going to put a little bit of sugar in my tea because I do know it brings the flavours out of this particular tea.
We hope you've got something wonderful in your cup, in your glass, in your flask. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hello, this is Michael Taggart, owner of MDT down in Brighton at a place called the Open Market, and I wanted to wish you all a conscious cuppa.
You can send in your questions and suggestions to consciouscuppa@gmail.com. That's CONSCIOUSCUPPA@gmail.com.
So this is what we do. We asked 30 people to pick from 13 lollipop sticks and gave them 5 minutes to talk about the subject written on the sticks they chose.
Each episode will take turns covering one of those subjects and look at how it relates to the magnificent creative capacity of our very own wonderful divine feminine.
This episode, Yuri will be covering feeding yourself and
nourishment.
Let's listen into what our fabulous guests had to say about feeding yourself and nourishment, starting with Caro and Amit. Then we'll be having a Neville nugget. And then we've got Nicki and Cori in the second half.
Lovely.
Whoa.
What is the woe?
The woe is feeding yourself and nourishment. And I was very attracted to the beautiful colours on the stick.
Okay, you okay with it?
Yeah, I think so. I have 5 minutes to work it out. Yeah, the two are very connected. Feeding yourself and nourishment. I think what comes to mind is this idea that, like, what's that come to mind is like running on empty, and kind of like being able to find a balance, being able to find ways to recharge, ways to resource. Yeah, I guess in my life I find it like quite difficult sometimes to say no, or to stop, or to give myself what I need. I think, in fact, like just knowing what I need sometimes is very difficult. I guess it's a bit of a process, and it's probably gonna take, my whole life. So this idea of like nourishing is, it reminds me of the land. It reminds me of fruit and vegetables, and also like nourishing a child and for life to grow. But life is also like circular and kind of growth, and then death, and then growth, and then death. But I find that I don't. Yeah, I mean, I want to think about feeding myself and nourishing myself more. I find that I'm in an environment where we are not necessarily like encouraged to do that. I think we have to kind of run on empty, and go faster and be more productive and make more money and this and that. So I think this idea of like feeding yourself, not just with food, but also with other needs that we might have, and even taking the time actually to understand what those needs are, is important.
About 2 minutes if you... Anybody got a prompt?
What do you think about the dinners we have here? Oh, it's nice to bring up the dinners. Yeah, I think something about sharing the nourishments, feeding others, and sharing a moment, and not just food, but also like getting to understand where people are at and what's going on in their life, and having the opportunity to share what's going on. The conversations are nourishing. That's also very nourishing.
Ooh, okay. Here's one that I really did pick solely on the basis of the colors, which are so beautiful at the top. It's nourishment and feeding yourself. I guess this is also for me linked to compassion for oneself. And I think there's a huge mental health crisis in this country, and I think in many, many countries, in many, many places in the world, because we put too much pressure on ourselves. We judge ourselves really harshly. We're constantly yelling at ourselves in our mind. The impartial spectator in our mind is very, very harsh, I think. So I think it's important to have compassion for oneself, and one way to do that is to nourish oneself and to know what nourishment means for you and for your ecology. So what is something that is affirming of your capacities? How do you get reconnected to what you can do? That to me is also about a sense of feeding yourself. But of course I take this quite literally because I live in this amazing house that we feed each other and ourselves really, I think, beautifully. So that is important, and I think taking it a little bit more metaphorically, I think we also attend to how we nourish each other's souls.
It's time for a Neville Nugget.
Number 11.
Number 11 for Neville Nugget, we have prayer. Prayer is the art of yielding to the wish and not the forcing of the wish. Whenever your feeling is in conflict with your wish, feeling will be the victor. Prayer must be without effort, as effort is fatal. The harder one tries, the less able they are to yield to the wish. Similar to the previous one we had. Bit of a warning there. On with the podcast.
On with the podcast.
Feeding yourself and nourishment.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow, feeding yourself. I guess on one level it's kind of the practicalities of that. But I suppose on a kind of deeper level it's what you choose to put into your body, which goes with the nourishment. They seem obviously very connected. But, you know, what you choose to put in. When I was diagnosed with diabetes, I remember they said, you know, we can say all sorts of things to you, but you are responsible for everything that goes into your body, and it's going to be you that will reap the effects. And I thought it was really wasn't easy to hear that. And I didn't feel that they were being unhealthy in the way they were doing it either. I felt they were just being really straightforward and setting that up. So although there's lots of other aspects of stuff that people are really good at giving advice to other people on what they should eat or shouldn't eat, in my experience. But I kind of felt it kind of gave me the guideline for remembering that that's the same for lots of parts of our lives. It's up to us, isn't it, at the end of the day, what we give to ourselves, how we nurture ourselves, and therefore what we recognise is missing. It's kind of up to us, really. It's no good if we feel everybody else has to deliver that and they have to deliver it in the way that we want. You know, it's like we're responsible, aren't we? And we can only, I think in a way, we can only really get nourishment from things when we accept we're responsible in a way. So it becomes much more difficult to grow from things. I'm talking more broadly because I guess feeding can also be, you know, what we take in and what we see as being part of our lives. You know, if we're resisting things all the time, or we're living in the past or whatever, or we don't learn from the past, we're kind of just invested in trauma or something, it's quite difficult to actually find what you need in the moment. That's what I feel anyway. So I guess for the feminine aspect of that, it's like, yeah, feeling we value ourselves, that we deserve to feel good and to bring into our lives the things we need and the things that are going to help us. But we are still responsible for processing that and what we do with that. And, you know, we can put things aside, or we can take them, or we can take our time with that. That's fine. You know, it doesn't have to be like hefty. It just needs to be about that sense of, because sometimes I feel like responsibility always feels heavy, but actually I think it's just about like responding with ability. So how I respond rather than how I react to a situation, I think is going to help me or harm me, maybe. So I don't know, that's just what I'm thinking. Again, a bit of a stream of consciousness around it. And then nourishment is somehow knowing all the things that we need. And that can be quite a pressure. I know, it can be quite a pressure to know what we need, even while I'm sitting here. You know, I'm not fully conversant with everything I need in this room, and I don't have to be actually, but I can give myself the space to reflect on that and still feel I'm responding to it, responding to life, I guess. Challenges that I'm facing.
Feeding yourself, nourishment.
What does that mean to you?
To me, it just means, okay, what am I going to eat? What do I eat? And am I eating the right things? So I haven't listened to the show much, but I find it interesting from what I've heard. So in terms of answering this question, I would expand on it. So feeding yourself, well, I think it's just a day-to-day activity, something that someone needs to do. And when I have something, I hope it gives me pleasure. It's not always about eating to survive. I think a lot of us eat for pleasure, and therefore sometimes we can eat more than what we should, or maybe eating the things that we shouldn't be eating, because it kind of boils down to pleasure. But that pleasure is pushed by feeling hungry. And sometimes you can eat something knowing you're hungry because you just want to get something in you. And if it's not the thing that you wanted, you kind of feel, I wish I didn't eat that, but I'm full. Nourishment. Nourishment. I think it's about eating the right things. And to do that all the time is not always easy. And because our desires always push towards something that makes us feel good, stemming back from growing up, eating the sweet stuff, eating the fatty stuff. And right now, well, I still do eat the things I shouldn't eat.
Conscious Cuppa. Dairy-free, gluten-free, no additives, no GMO, just good to go.
So we just heard from our guests about feeding yourself and nourishment. And Yuri, you were assigned this stick.
Yes. Nourishing and feeding yourself, of course, there's 4 elements to that. There's the physical, there's the mental, there's the emotional, and there's the spiritual. Kind of building on what we were saying last week about getting gifts, I think what it asks me is, what am I nourishing and what am I calling to myself to nourish myself? And I think there's a disciple called Simon that really is about not taking in some things that he's hearing. You know, he's kind of like a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And I really like that idea. I really like that there's an inner gatekeeper in me that's keeping me safe.
Yeah.
And almost like this is a reciprocal relationship. The more I nourish Simon, the more he nourishes me. And then the safer I feel, the weller I feel, you know, the less dis-ease I feel. And therefore, you know, the more harmonious I feel, actually. I really like the idea of nourishing one's inner harmony, really, this equilibrium. I think a lot of this harmony and the idea of this harmony also was reflected in what Caro was saying about balancing. You know, if we talk about a physical diet, it's about having this balanced diet, like Nicki was saying about being pre-diabetic and what you're taking in and the choice you have. This is your choice, actually. Once I began to realise through listening to Neville and the divine, understanding more about the divine feminine, that I had this choice, whether I was going to go straight to her storehouse or I was going to go off and try and nourish myself, this independence that you talked about in the last episode.
Super independence.
Yes. I mean, I definitely have experienced that. And I think it's really important to, I've heard this term, and I mean, I don't know whether you'll like it or not, but let go and let God.
Yeah.
And I feel like the divine feminine is that. I have faith and trust in her to nourish me. So if I go straight to her, I have this relationship with her. And I wanted to tie that all together. It came to me when you were talking in the last episode about who am I going to? Am I going to these sensory husbands that are always kind of saying, listen to me, eat this, fulfill this, go here, come do this? Or am I going straight to the divine feminine? Am I being loyal to her? Am I being a loyal husband? And I'm going straight to her and saying, when I'm nourished, this is how I feel. This is the fulfillment. This is the wow. This is the relief I feel from having eaten that thing, held that hand. That's my practice at the moment.
So at this point, you're acting from the divine masculine if you're heading home to your divine feminine.
Yes.
What is it about this stage that speaks to you, having received the idea, having received the desire, you know which direction you're headed, but what is it about nourishment and feeding yourself from a spiritual aspect, if I can ask you that?
Well, it's funny because I go straight to I've got to pack lunch when you say that. Nicki was talking about responsibility, acceptance, and that made me think about autonomy. And then I went on to think about how it's where I'm putting my investment, where I'm putting my attention.
Yeah.
And, this goes back to this sustaining my attention. So
Yes.
is my attention on what I do want, and can I sustain that, and how do I sustain that? And Neville talks about interrupting the old conversation. I've put this into practice and it's really beautiful. When you interrupt this old conversation, this unhelpful conversation, the thing that you don't want, this person's saying, they're so annoying. We all have it.
Yeah.
And if we interrupt it with what we do want, you just say, okay, let me go straight to my divine feminine and what I do want and really be faithful to her. Then what happens is it really does bring about this harvest. You don't know necessarily when it's going to happen, and you definitely don't know how it's going to happen. But then you have a conversation that is the one you wanted, and it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's very profound when it happens, especially if you learn, as I think we are, to recognise your harvest, that you did that. It's special.
So what was the changeover for you in your journey on the earth so far? Because Caro was also talking about, this is a process. This is not something that can just happen like that. This is a lifetime of learning what is good to put into your body, into your mind, into your soul.
Well, also Amit was talking about mental health, and well-being, and that's been, I understand now that that's on a spectrum. And I really want to be on the light side of that spectrum. I want to be in the divine feminine's storehouse, where I feel my mental health is at its optimum and that it's being nourished daily and I'm self-caring daily. So, interrupting those conversations means my relationship with my managers, completely different. Mm-hmm. My relationship with my friends, transformed. So I think it's interesting. I just came to a pause there because my inner critic was kind of saying, you've already said that, you're repeating yourself. And so I just stopped and I said, Jenny, let's just pause there.
Yeah.
Because that's not part of my plan, that's not part of my nourishment, that doesn't help me, that's not kind, that's not loving to me.
Well, it's interesting because this number 1, which is on the Fibonacci, this nourishment, this feeding, this sustaining, it makes me think about the need to play, to be light-hearted, because you're trying to keep the idea from sinking back into nothingness, so you're having to keep it buoyant.
Yes.
You have to keep it light. You have to...
I've got some words. Shall I share them?
Go on.
I've got a list of words. Energised, invigorated, inspired, motivated, and this needs to be reciprocal and sharing. This has to be in mutual agreement.
And the mutual agreement, of course, is with the ideal that you're going home to pick up,
Yes.
as it were. So you're all the time as you're moving towards that, you're becoming more and more in tune with that frequency.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. I have, at the end of this, come up with an acronym.
That's my job,
I didn't think I was
cheeky.
going to do it, but, you know, there you go. And the word is cud.
Go on.
Like a cow chewing the cud. Choice and responsibility. Understanding through sharing soul food. And daily pleasure, which Cori gave us. Because I love the idea that food isn't just about hunger. A lot of it is, especially nowadays, is about pleasure. If you've got to a certain place in your journey, let's say, food is a lot more about pleasure than it is about survival.
And this also reminds me of your previous acronym in our other season, BED, Beauty, Ease and Delight. And I feel like that really gives the feeling that I need to have when I get to the point of nourishment, when I can go into myself and I really feel nourished, so that I know when I get to 13, that's going to come back to me and manifest on this level.
And I guess it's not always about an idea that you have. It could just be the idea of yourself.
I think it starts with that.
I mean, we always have hungers in this world, but that's part of what this world is about, is to be able to feed your hunger, whatever your hunger, your desires are. But you are yourself an idea that needs you to be light-hearted and playful and giving yourself attention and so on and so forth. What are your words of wisdom for this episode, Yuri?
So I think my words of wisdom are about this sustaining and entertaining and practicing being what you do want and having what you do want and what the feeling of that is.
So C-U-D, cud. And Yuri, what have you taken, what have you gleaned from what our guests have said this week? What are the words of wisdom that shined through for you?
For me, nourishing is this recharging. It's also resourcing these things that nourish you, which is in this beautiful divine feminine storehouse. And it's about being compassionate for yourself and others and affirming what you do want and what you do need.
Lovely. Okay, that's the end of this episode, episode 3. And we'll see you on the other side. There's also an Easter egg at the end. But what about mugshots, Yuri?
Yes, please send in your mugshots. What are you sipping? What are you slurping? What are you drinking? Send in a picture and share it with us. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, recommend some tea that we could
try on the show.
Yeah. For the next season, perhaps.
Absolutely. So, Jenny, they need to send it to consciouscuppa, oldschool@gmail.com. How do we spell that?
Without the old school. consciouscuppa@gmail.com. See you there.
Lovely. See you there. Thank you for listening. here's our Easter egg.
Thanks for waiting.
Yeah, it's from Women of the Bible, and I'm going to pick one of the lollipop sticks. I've got an orange one as well. So this is Elizabeth. Her name means God is an oath, and that's in Luke 1 from the Bible. And her name, of course, is so relevant. It's about abundant, blessed to bring greatness to the world, does the impossible.
Ooh, wow. Liz, Lizzie, Eliza, Beth.
Yes.
Yeah, all of these names.
And that's very poignant to your family and yourself, isn't it?
It is. My mother's middle name was Elizabeth.
And you've got a little Beth in the family as
We
well.
have a niece called Beth.
Yeah, lovely.
Big shouts.